Sure.
So they can hear your audio now. I
Oh,
can't
no.
see you yet. I still have. Let's take that off and make the countdown off. All right, everyone, we're live here. Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live once again. Let me just mute one thing that I'm getting. I always have to mute the live feed, which is several seconds behind us live. So all the way from Australia,
Indeed.
Ian Anderson.
I'm all the way from the future. It's just gone tomorrow.
Oh, that's
it's after
right. You are
midnight
from the
here.
future. In which part of Australia?
I'm in Brisbane.
Brisbane. Okay. And you guys are in the midst of summer, I guess, down there.
We are indeed. So, yes, this is summer. This is the time you go for a swim. So I have a pool. It means I can jump in the pool anytime this time of year, and it's perfectly pleasant.
It's a stunning 40 degrees Fahrenheit here. I'm not sure what it is centigrade. We had to go through this last time we had you guys on. You did the centigrade conversion for me.
Yeah, that's 4.5 degrees C. That's ridiculous. No, that's a winter. It's barely 4.5 degrees C at nighttime. That's crazy.
So we got a couple comments. Hi from Africa, from Justine Paula Robillard, and we also got a comment. Hello from the Netherlands, Leo. I'm not sure how to say his last name. Rolofs, Roelofs, S. Right off the bat. That sounds, I mean, you know, I'm doing it live, so I don't have time to prepare or look it up or ask them, So we got some stuff coming up this week, Ian.
Indeed. Very exciting.
You're getting in Wednesday, I think you said?
Wednesday it is, yes.
Yeah, I'll be there as well.
Yeah, I get to enjoy the crazy experience of leaving Brisbane at 11 a.m. on Wednesday and arriving in San Francisco at 11 a.m. Wednesday, 17 hours later.
17 hours. I remember when I went to
Something
Europe a
like
few
that.
times. Yeah, it was a long flight, but not anything like that.
17 is nothing. Like Europe is 24 hours.
Oh, is it really?
Or thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So Europe from the east coast of the U.S. is 6 hours, I think, 7 hours, depending on which way you're going, against the rotation of the Earth or with the rotation of the Earth, the way I look at it. They say headwinds, but I look at it the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, if you're anywhere near New York, then you've got a whole lot of fun civilization within a 10-hour flight. I mean, we have Asia, which is fun, and New Zealand, which is great.
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, I love Europe. I'd rather go there.
Oh, I do too. Well, of course, I really want to go to Australia now because I'll watch all these damn TV shows you guys have. The Leftovers was fantastic. Damon Lindelof.
Okay. I don't know it.
That was phenomenal. The last season was in Australia. I think Matt Goddard worked on that. He worked on that at some point because he got to meet Damon Lindelof, I like him ever since Lost.
Very cool.
But anyway, so we have, let me see, another comment here. Steve Wilson says, hi from the UK, not pool weather here either. Yes, I know. You guys are more like us. So Justine says it's about 44 hours for her. I'm not sure how that, I think you can circle the globe a few times with 44 hours, can't you?
Depending on how many little regional flights you have to catch before you get to a big hub.
Exactly. So anyway, the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit is coming up this week. It'll be,
Indeed.
Look, Final Cut Pro Summit, the FCPX Summit is the biggest Final Cut Pro event because it's concentrated Final Cut Pro, not because it's the biggest in numbers, but it's the concentrated Final Cut Pro for 3 days. Mm-hmm. You get to meet the Final Cut Pro team in person. They do a special presentation for us. We're going to go through all this. They do a Q&A with us. And you get this 3 days of training from people like Ian.
Indeed. Wherever I am.
There you are.
We do a Brady Bunch thing.
Exactly, over there. Everything's backwards, of course. So
Indeed.
We're going to talk about the summit. One of the things the summit itself is in Cupertino. It's right by the Apple HQ, One Infinite Loop. And it's not too far from the Spaceship Campus, which we were supposed to go to this year, but it got changed to just the Gift Center, which was, that was Apple. Because
I was pretty bummed about that.
Yeah.
Got to say.
Yeah, I think everybody, I kept teasing that I was going to go into Tim Cook's office. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. Stop by there. Ask him if he knows what Final Cut Pro is.
But yeah, look, I'm sure they have some good reasons for it. It was busy, or they needed to prepare wherever they were going to show for something else. I suspect they were hoping to get us into the Steve Jobs Theatre, and I suspect maybe they want that now for rehearsing for some other event, or who knows?
So let's talk about that for a second. They've pre-announced the Mac Pro, that special Pro display. We haven't seen it.
No,
we haven't seen the 16-inch MacBook Pro that the rumors are that's coming out. We have not seen the Mac Pro. We have not seen. We got AirPods Pro announced on Monday. They haven't announced any event, which I was kind of expecting they were going to announce an event prior to the summit, like they did in 2016 to announce the MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar, but they haven't done that either.
No, but they often skip an event for a bumped MacBook Pro, unless it's like truly revolutionary. And I get the feeling, even though this rumored 16-inch machine is going to be, 16 inches, it's a bit like the 10.2-inch iPad versus the 9.7. It's not going to look much different. It's probably going to be the same external size. If you look at macrumors.com, they've got what looks like a leaked image, so a separate physical escape key, which is nice because, every now and again I will get a series of dings from when my finger has been resting a little bit too long in the wrong spot, and a slightly separated Touch ID to make it look even on the other side. I mean, that and a larger screen and, new GPU and new CPU, it'll be nice, but it's not worth an event. Mac Pro has been announced. They've had the serious things. They don't need another event to say, look, here it is. It's exactly what we told you it would be. Maybe that's what they're going to show us. I suspect, look, my suspicion, I have no knowledge. If I did, I couldn't say. But I suspect that maybe we'll be put under NDA because they might show us the Mac Pro and how fast it is with the new Final Cut, even though it's not out yet. And maybe it'll be weeks or a month or maybe just days before it does get released. But, to date, the only people who've seen the Mac Pro in person have been the media and, at that one event. So, that'd be nice. That'd be a little like we got with the MacBook Pro the day after the event last time. And I think we were going to have to sign an NDA for that, but then the event happened the day before and it wasn't such a big deal. So we didn't have to do an NDA after all. But I know there has been a situation in the past, I think at the summit before I came, where they did show off a new version of Final Cut months in advance.
Okay.
And I think actually there was one release where we were shown something that then didn't come out for a while, just for a few weeks. I can't remember what though. So yeah, we do get shown stuff in advance sometimes, but not always. And, we'll just have to see what the NDA is for. And of course we won't be able to tell anyone what it was for.
Yeah. It's just part of the NDA is once you sign it, it's not sometimes even talking about that it exists. Sometimes. I've signed them where they said you're not even supposed to discuss the NDA exists. We haven't signed anything yet, so we're not under, that's not a restriction apparently. But so everybody that doesn't know, there's going to be something shown at this summit that's different than the other summits, because the other summits, they encouraged us, social media, take pictures, post it on social media, all the updates. This time, they don't want us to, at least from the outside. Now, we've gone there before. You get on the bus, okay? They tell you, no photographs, no video, no audio recordings when you get on the bus once you're on Apple campus. we got to the presentation. On the way out of the presentation, they said, oh, by the way, there's restrictions on videotaping and photographing and audio. They don't exist in the room you're going to.
Yeah, I know there's been mixed messages in the past. I think it was when 10.4 came out with color correction.
Right.
I was in the second group because they always have two groups to be shown in the rooms. And that was when the 360 degree support came out.
Right.
And I had a 360 degree camera, and nobody told me not to use it in the media room. So I used it.
Right.
It seemed logical to use a 360 degree camera to take footage of in 360 of the 360 things.
Sure.
So I did. But I remember talking to Peter Wiggins afterwards, and he'd been told not to take photos in the first session. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate, but unlucky for him.
Yeah, they
so sometimes the messages get a little mixed, I guess.
They do, and plus they see you walking around with the thing, and they could always stop you.
Yeah, it's okay. I think there's some unspoken rules, like if you get photos of Apple staff, then don't share those.
Right,
because they like to keep their stuff a little bit private, and even though I think we both know a number of the staff now, but it wouldn't be good form to take a photo of, hi, here's such and such, the product manager for blah blah blah. Here's their email address. Why don't you email them? That would be rude. I think they wouldn't like that.
No, they're protective. I mean, they don't really care if somebody's in the background. They just don't want them on camera. Mm-hmm. Is what the deal is. So whatever they're going to show us, I don't. Since they've already shown the Mac Pro and they've already shown the Pro display at WWDC in detail, there's details of it on their website, very specific, inside, outside. I don't think that's the reason for any kind of a, clamp down on discussion. I think it has to do with Final Cut Pro. I just can't see why they have such details on their website. They've shown it in details. It's almost been reviewed, it seems like. I mean, they have explicit details. They haven't done the pricing yet. But so I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's got to be, to me, it makes sense if it's a future version of Final Cut Pro.
Look, I hope you're right. I really do. I just don't want to get my hopes up at all at this point. I was all excited about going to the Apple campus, and that's not happening. So, well, the new one. Because, I mean, I've been to the old Apple campus a few times now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. It's fine.
I understand that, but I have faith that they're going to show us something new. Put it that way.
Okay.
It's not going to be 10.4.8. That doesn't make any sense. It's got to be 10.5. Now they showed a preview of 10.3, was it, or 10.2 at NBA years and years ago, and they had everybody under NDA for that. They didn't say it was the new version they said it was a future version. They didn't have a number applied to it. It turned out it was the one with roles and stuff that we got in the summit following that. So what, besides what else, I'm not sure what else it would be. It's not a new Apple coffee pot, that's for sure.
No, look, Apple could do a lot to get us on site, and hopefully they'll bring us into the theater, and at some point they'll say, "Now look under your seats, and you'll find a pair of new AirPods Pro."
Absolutely,
that'd be nice.
Yes,
but
since Oprah's now involved with Apple, that'd be perfect. She'll come on stage and says, "Look under your seats," like she always does on her show.
I was recently at the dentist, and the dentist will, they've got a TV in the ceiling that you can't really help but watch.
Right.
So I found myself watching daytime TV, and Ellen seems to have picked up Oprah's mantle in giving stuff away, because she had Jennifer Aniston promoting her new Apple TV Plus show.
Right.
And everyone in the audience got an iPhone 11.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
I wonder if they had to give it back when they left.
Oh, no. It was so they could get Apple TV Plus to go watch Jennifer Aniston's new show. They were all pretty excited. I mean, it's not a car, but hey, it's a nice new phone.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty amazing, because they're like $800 or something to $1,000. I got the 11 Pro Max, where you can see the 3 screens there. Yep. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But
I'm definitely going to hang on to my 10R a bit longer, I think, because I think next year is going to be the big one. to be honest.
Well, now that well, I was on a 6S Plus, so that's how old, 4 years.
Time to upgrade.
Yeah, it's time to upgrade, and this was the one with the 3 lenses and stuff. And originally I wasn't that excited about the ultra-wide lens, but now I love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, I use it all the time.
Well, I've got an ultra wide for my GH5. I've got the 7 to 14 mil. So I love ultra wide photography. It's really good fun. But I'm still not excited about smartphone photography. I recognize all the benefits of it's in your pocket. You can get great stuff. It's so much better than it used to be, and I'm still disappointed. I'm just too fussy about this stuff now.
Yeah. Well, it's people. I'm on the probably some of the same things you are with GH5 and stuff, and I go on there and tell people, look, it's not better than a GH5, but it's pretty damn good. And it is. It does replace me slogging my GH5 sometimes. Mid-level stuff. I said I'm not going to take it. I'm taking my new iPhone 11s, iPhone 11 Pro Max, because it's a lot less hassle. And I can still get good. The main thing is I can get good audio into it. I got all kind of interfaces now. I've been trying them out, and finally I can get good audio. So that's the main drawback, because of course the GH5 is a fantastic camera. It's just a brilliant camera. So I still use that, obviously, my main camera. But the iPhone 11 Pro Max is really good. I'm not even using Filmic Pro yet because this is aggravating. If I'm doing a setup and don't change anything, it's fine. But if you have to change the lenses, you have to tap each time, like 4 taps to switch a lens in Filmic Pro, where the iPhone, you just click a wheel and just rotate it around, and you can do it, So I'm sure they're going to fix that, but right now it's too aggravating to use.
Well, if you don't like Filmic Pro, then I would recommend ProCam, which might be up to 6 or 7 now. ProCam's quite good.
I have that as well. Yeah, I have all those.
Yeah, give that a shot. I've had no luck with Filmic Pro. I've used it. Let me just see if I can find it. The ProCam icon for anyone looking for it is a little black one just there. Filmic Pro is the red one.
Right.
Look, Filmic Pro, a long time ago I lost a very important recording because I had a battery warning while it was recording, and it decided to lose the recording.
Wow.
Because of the battery warning. And turns out they knew about the bug but hadn't fixed it. That was not good, and I've had other problems since, so no, I don't trust it. And look, I would really rather just have an SD card that I could plug into it. And look, who knows? Maybe that's going to be possible in the future. Maybe maybe you'll be able to record direct to an external SD card. I've got the adapter. Yeah. The file support's there. Sure. It would be completely awesome if I could do that.
And maybe they'd make a case with the SD card slot in it.
Well, maybe. I mean, I've just got the dongle. It works. But I think once we get USB-C, a whole lot more stuff is going to become possible because there's just not enough power over Lightning. But look, there's all kinds of exciting things happening in terms of hardware. And apparently there's rumors of something big coming to the GH5, G9, S1, blah, 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 which could be, cross your fingers, everyone, ProRes RAW recording over HDMI.
Huh. I didn't even think about that. I posted that yesterday. I saw they having a firmware update. I'm glad they're still supporting these older cameras. I mean, the GH6 has to be in development, right?
I'd like to think so, but it depends who you want to talk to, because some people will have you think, nah, they're just focusing on full frame now, but I don't think they are. I think
Panasonic has said they're not stopping development of Micro Four Thirds. I mean, the GH5 is just an incredible camera.
It's a lovely camera.
Yeah.
The only things that I want from the GH6 are definitely longer than half-hour recording, which the GH5 has already. But I want the USB battery support from the G9, because they just didn't have that tech when they designed the GH5. The G9 has it. Right, mash that in there, please, because I need to record events fairly frequently.
Sure.
Each speaker is talking for longer than half an hour. And sometimes if there's like 3 speakers that go back to back to back, I can't change a battery and I'm going to run out of power at some point. So that sucks. And using a AC adapter is not good either, because if it ever gets disconnected, you'll lose the recording that's currently happening. Yeah, it'll be destroyed.
Oh man, that's no good. I use
it's got to finalize.
Yeah. So the best thing to do is stop and start, I guess, a few times if it's a long recording.
Yeah, but then of course you're missing part of it, and yeah, that's bad. But it's all right. The perfect camera will be released at some point, and by then phones will be completely taking over. Honestly, I think regular cameras have got a few years before the vast majority of people have just switched over to phones. They are getting better.
So one of the things for the attendees of the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, so first off, the Creative Summit usually has between 125 and 150 people that come to it. So it's definitely a small group of people, but there's a lot of high-profile Final Cut Pro people there. You know, you get to talk with them in person, and, you know, Steve Martins and Philip Hodgetts and yourself, and just, you know, sitting in the lobby of the hotel, right? Just in coffee in the morning, you get to talk to them between sessions. Of course, you get the team itself. So it's like Philip says, it's family reunion each year. But it is. We get to see each other for, you know, NAB and this is when I go to the West Coast to these events.
No, it's good. I really like it. It's look, we have to, much as Final Cut is, you know, less widely used than, say, you know, Avid or Premiere, there aren't that many editors full stop professionally. There's a lot more people making videos occasionally or, you know, as part of another job than there are who are full-time editors. You know, there's really not that many people who are making TV and movies. It's a pretty tiny market. And, you know, there's still plenty of people watching TV, but, you know, I've got a pilot at the moment for a show, and it's proving to be quite difficult to actually find distribution, a network that's interested in buying it, and there's a million good reasons for that. But yeah, everything's hard. There's too much TV out there, and everyone's still as fussy as they want to be.
Well, I think they've said that there's going to be 5 new streaming services coming out in 2020 besides Apple's. So there's got to be, you know, people making the content. Yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, the main appetite is and always has been and probably always will be for scripted, you know, drama, action, all that kind of thing. That's not what I want to make. It's not what I have made. It's not what I'd like to watch right now. So. Yeah, I think anyway, we're getting pretty off topic. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so let's talk more about the summit. So the summit, there's 3 days or 2.5 days of sessions starting on Thursday. There's 2 keynotes this year. Justine's coming back. I don't know what she's teaching yet. It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, they're the to be decided sessions.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad she's coming back. She's a real nice personality. I really enjoyed her keynote last year.
Yep.
At the summit. So, and she's coming back, and then of course everybody, yourself and Lee Herbert's coming back also from Australia. Are you guys flying on the same flight?
Yeah, we're on the same flight.
You are. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, not the first bit because he lives in Melbourne. I live in Brisbane, but we meet up in Auckland because we're both flying here in New Zealand, and you know, there's only 1 flight a day from Auckland to San Francisco. So there's one sensible day to be coming in, which is the Wednesday. Yeah, so no, look, it's just easier, you know, share an Uber.
No, absolutely. Are you going to San Jose Airport?
Sadly, no, because if you want to go to San Jose, we're going to SFO, because if you want to fly into SJC, then you have to go a different route. And I'm kind of glad I didn't book via Hong Kong, which was the option to do that. That's more potential for disruption. There's a lot more unrest. It's kind of a bummer. But no, it's fine. Air New Zealand's comfortable. It'll be fine. It'll be good. And yeah, San Fran's not that far away.
No, it's not. The first 3, this is the first year I can fly into San Jose because this is the first year they've had a direct flight from the East Coast.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. I've
I've,
I've
I've,
done
yeah.
I've done it before via Vancouver, so you can go Vancouver SJC.
They have other places, but not from the East Coast, and not from BWI, where I fly out of. They have, had to take 2 or 3 different flights. I hate that. So I want to take off and land one time each trip as much as I can. So anyway, this is the first year they have San Jose. So I'm flying in there this year. So that's a lot closer.
Yeah, it's a bit closer. And at least there's a restaurant right next to the hotel now, and it's not Armadillo Willie's. It's Vietnamese food. Now, are you familiar with Vietnamese food, Richard?
I am going to be, because you're going to show me what to order. And Greg Clark, and who else chimed in on that? Somebody else.
I'm
it
not
wasn't
sure.
Patrick. Patrick says he's going to close his door and not answer his door. I was going to order some takeout and send it up to his room, but he said no.
Well, it's hard to know because they don't have a website, so we'll have to just wait to see what's on the menu. But I'm definitely with Gregory Clark that if they have banh mi, I'm in. So yeah, I've run a lot of courses teaching Adobe graphic design software, and right across the road from there is a banh mi place, and so that is my go-to lunch whenever I can. But I think maybe they've just got beef and broth and pho and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, but it is close. It is convenient.
Fun to explore.
Now, for people that go to the summit, there's a courtyard area outside, and right across the courtyard is Le Boulanger. Yeah. Is that what it is? And I eat breakfast. They have breakfast sandwiches in there. It's real easy to get to. They open at 7 o'clock in the morning. Across the street, Starbucks opens at 5 a.m. And so if you want to get up super early and get coffee, you can go over there. But there's not a whole lot of real breakfasty places around. I kept looking for them. Those are the only ones I really found.
Well, you see my secret plan, Richard, because I'm coming all the way from Australia. And for whatever reason, this airline ticket included 2 suitcases. So 1 suitcase is going over mostly empty and coming home full of cereal that I can't buy here in Australia.
Like what?
Cinnamon.
Huh.
I like my cinnamon cereals. And America is the only country in the world that really gets cinnamon cereals, and especially just after Halloween, there's an awful lot of cinnamon cereal. So yeah, that I tend to, buy a lot of boxes of cereal on that first day, and open one of them, eat it while I'm there for breakfast, so I don't have to stumble out unconscious and hungry, and take the rest of them home.
There you go. So it's got to be late at night there. What time is it?
It is midnight.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to confuse my body so I get used to.
Well, that's true.
Some other time zone, or at least so I sleep on the plane in a couple of days. So late nights away for the next couple of nights.
Oh, that's true. That's a good idea. I even get confused coming from the East Coast, and it's only 3 hours difference. It's still an adjustment.
Well, this difference is pretty massive, but once you get a 17-hour time difference, which is what I'm looking at, it's really just a 7-hour time difference the other way. So yeah,
that's true. So the summit's going to start on Thursday. I think I keep seeing different times. First I see 12, then I see 1, so I'm not sure. And there'll be an introduction. Yeah, there'll be introductions and stuff, and then they're going to have a keynote that afternoon, and also it's Saturday or Friday morning. There's 2 keynotes this year anyway, and there's sessions all day. Friday is the Apple Day, which I think most people are really excited about, and so normally we have 2 Apple sessions. We have the one at One Infinite Loop where Apple does a presentation of the latest, what they've done in the last 3 years. They've done a presentation of the latest and greatest new version of Final Cut Pro. That's what they've done for the last 3 years. It was 10.3, it was 10.4, and then it was 10.4.4 last year. All 3 times within 1 day, Final Cut Pro was released. So that's why I keep saying there's going to be a new version of Final Cut Pro. They're going to show us. Whether or not we can discuss it or not, we'll find out. We got to sign. Well, I'm going to sign your name. I'm going to go in first, sign your name, and I'm not going to sign my name. No, I of course I would never reveal something I wasn't supposed to reveal. That's not what not interested in that at all.
No. Well, according to this, it starts 12 o'clock on Thursday, which is going to be
Okay.
good for getting over jet lag. Yeah, and so I'll be talking at 3. I'm up against Lee, so anyone wanting maximum Australian content, I'm afraid you're just going to have to pick an Australian to listen to.
Or you can go half and half. You can go one for a half hour and then go the other one for a half hour or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not offended. Let's go ahead. I think we've got very different audiences for that. So I'm talking about making educational content, and he's talking about ProRes RAW. So if you want super pretty images, then you need to go listen to Lee, and I'll be showing you how to make safety videos more exciting.
So what do you think about ProRes RAW? You think it's going to get, it's still very muted in its adoption. It's very...
Yeah, well, it is muted, but there's many reasons for that. But, okay, so what are the reasons? The Atomos recorders that allow that, I'm not sure if they're out yet, or they, so there's limited ways to actually record ProRes RAW. Certainly the cheap ones aren't available yet.
Right.
You have to use Final Cut to actually edit it. Not everyone wants to edit with Final Cut.
What?
And you can
Wait a minute. What did you say?
And there's not that many cameras which you can actually plug into an Atomos recorder and record ProRes RAW. So the ones that go over HDMI, I think they're not out yet. And you have to get a camera exports that has SDI export,
right,
or output.
HDSDI,
which is,
right.
Yeah, HDSDI, and that's not very common. And then you need the fancier Atomos recorder, which is not the entry-level one. But
why do you think that is at this point? I mean, here's the one exception to that: the DJI drone camera can record it internally.
Yeah, but it's an incredibly expensive drone that very few people have.
Is it?
That's the ZenMuse, isn't it? It's like the super high-end.
But is the camera itself that sophisticated on that drone?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's meant to be quite a good one, but it's that's kind of your cinema grade drone. So look, yeah, there's not that many ways to make ProRes RAW at the moment. Once HDMI becomes an option, I think you'll see a lot more people exploring it. There is that argument also that one of the main reasons people want to shoot RAW is if the white balance was wrong. With red code, you just reassign a white balance. And because Final Cut doesn't read the white balance that was recorded in the metadata, that data is in the file. You can get it if you dig into it with something like EXIF tool on the command line. And there is another way to do it for Panasonic cameras, which you can bring into Final Cut as well. But Final Cut itself doesn't know about it. So if Final Cut knew what the white balance was, you'd be able to presumably reassign the white balance with that absolute value. So my theory on this is there is a temperature intent slider in the color wheels. So my theory, and it defaults to 5,000 Kelvin. So my theory is if you always record at 5,000 Kelvin, effectively you've got an absolute white balance slider in Final Cut. But that's yet to be tested. And so I was talking to Lee today, and he thinks that, I might be right, but he needs to test it. So
the question is, the data's there. It's just not showing up in Final Cut yet.
Yeah. Yes. There's a ton of metadata in the files, down to what lens was used, the serial number of the camera, all that stuff is in every file. And obviously it's not going to be 100% accurate because white balance, if you accidentally leave it on auto white balance during a shoot, it will vary all over the place. Right. And you will have a horrible experience. And you can't fix that because there's just one number in the file. It was really designed for stills after all. But look, it would be nice to have that metadata natively in Final Cut and the program to be able to do something with it.
I think that's one of the things that will obviously be forthcoming with. I mean, if they want to promote ProRes RAW, they've got to make it more accessible. Because it's limited. The acquisition is limited right now.
It is. And look, we'll see. It'd be nice if Blackmagic would support it as well, because I think that's a big part of the audience. Right now, you've got a RAW market that's pretty fragmented. You can use Blackmagic RAW if you've got Blackmagic cameras, but you've got to use Resolve then to edit. And you can't shoot ProRes RAW on a Blackmagic camera. I don't think that's going to change, sadly. But,
You don't think that's going to change? I mean, look, Apple and Avid working together. Avid's making the 64-bit drivers for Avid codecs, and Avid's including ProRes RAW and Media Composer. Blackmagic and Apple have already worked together on the eGPU. I mean, I don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, I don't see where it really affects one way or the other. I mean, I think Blackmagic RAW, whoever has to make that driver, whether it's Blackmagic or whether they do some kind of a swap, I think it's coming. I don't see why.
Well, look, to be honest, if Blackmagic RAW was supported by Final Cut, then I'd look at the Blackmagic Pocket 4K much, much, much more seriously than I am now. I don't need the massive files, but I like a lot of things that Blackmagic has. And as a companion to the GH5, it could be very good, but I'm not transcoding everything. And, sometimes I need a little bit more file size flexibility than I can get with ProRes. So, yeah, I'd like to be able to shoot Blackmagic 12:1 every now and again, for example.
Sure. So we got a comment from Torgrim Grimstad. He's from Norway. He's coming to the summit for the first time this year. He says, any news if we are going to Apple Park or not during the Creative Summit? We're not going to Apple Park. We're going to Apple Park Visitors Center. Yeah. But we are going to Apple HQ, which is one infinite loop right down the street, which is where we've gone the last three. We've never gone to Apple Park yet, so.
Yeah, so no Apple Park. The Visitor Center is quite nice if you've never been there before. It is across the road from the new Apple Park. But yeah, Apple Park access at the moment is pretty much Apple staff and media at an Apple event, and that's pretty much it.
So do you think there's going to be an Apple event for the Mac Pro, the Pro Display, the 16-inch MacBook Pro? You think they're just going to announce them like maybe every Monday or something like they did with the AirPods Pro?
I don't think there's a pattern. I just think they'll come out when they're ready. And I think the Mac Pro was waiting for Catalina, I think, even though the original Mac Pro spec sheets apparently said Mojave or Catalina.
They most certainly did. I got a screen grab.
And now it just says Catalina. So I think they've decided they couldn't make it work for whatever reason. There was some bug or some issue with Mojave, and they just said, right, no, Catalina only, which, is going to hurt them in the short term.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think they
not certified on Catalina yet, so any Avid users can't go to the Mac Pro yet, if that's the case.
If it's the case, I'm not sure if that is the case. I think they might, just because they updated the website, it doesn't say it can't run on, Mojave. It just says it just has the most current up. They changed when Catalina came out officially.
Well, I think maybe, look, the other reason is that I don't think it's ever been the case that a Mac has been able to run an older system than the current one when the Mac came out. And it could just be as simple as they were hoping to get the Mac Pro out before Catalina. They didn't, so they just lifted the baseline so that it's Catalina only.
Yeah, you're right. Macs usually don't, but usually there's some kind of somebody will come up with something.
The Mac Pro would be a way to break that rule because, if you're spending $6,000 US on a computer, then you should be able to tell it what you want it to run.
Yeah, at least one generation. It's so close. I mean, if I looked, for some reason I still had two. I had a cylinder Mac Pro and an iMac Pro in my Apple cart. I've had it for years, and I didn't know it until just recently. I went on Apple.com and it said, "There's two items in your cart." And I said, "What are those two items doing in my cart?" And I looked at them, and it was a cylinder Mac Pro that I had spec'd for myself. It was $6,000. And it was the iMac Pro that I had spec'd for myself, and it was $7,200.
Yes, yeah, you see, I'm just doing the mental calculations back to Australian dollars, and
yikes.
I'm not doing any of those things.
Yikes.
I'm totally happy with my iMac, and it's fine. You can buy that computer, Richard. That's fine. I'll just sit back here and be jealous.
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, I need PCIe cards for my studio downstairs. That's the only solution. Number two is I absolutely love the form factor of the Mac Pro. That's my favorite Mac of all times. I was astounded when they came out in 2019 with it. And the third thing is I update my Macs every 2.5 years plus or minus, I
Mm-hmm.
anticipate having this Mac Pro for double that.
Okay.
So I won't lose, because like you said, I won't lose when I go to resell it, all the value. I just sold my 2016 MacBook Pro for like $1,500.
Okay, well, counterpoint. You could get an eGPU for that PCIe support. So I say eGPU, but the external boxes don't have to have a GPU in them. You can just get an empty box and stick PCI cards in it. And for music stuff, there shouldn't be any problem. It's really the bandwidth is an issue for higher end GPUs. So you could do that. A weird thing that I found is that recently cutting a music video is that I was shooting in the 5K HEVC mode on the GH5, the open gate 4:3.
Right, which I
is
really
great.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's faster to cut that on my MacBook Pro than my iMac. Because of the T2 chip that's in the MacBook Pro, which must be doing the HEVC decoding in hardware. And I don't have that on the iMac. So that's a bit funny. And I haven't tested that again since 10.4.7 because I haven't upgraded my iMac yet. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of change coming soon. And I think in a couple of years, maybe as soon as next year, we will start seeing Macs built with A-series chips. So the ones currently in iOS devices. And, potentially we might see both Intel chips and A-series chips. So the A-series chips first being used as like a coprocessor to speed stuff up. And then maybe they'll just take over. But who knows? Who knows? I do think it's an exciting time given how the Apple chips keep getting faster and Intel not so much. And so we're already at the point where your phone chip, that the chip in that is faster than the chip in the Mac you're talking to.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
And I was talking to Michael Cioni on one of these a couple weeks ago, and he had 1 terabyte of storage in one of the red phones. And I have half a terabyte in my iPhone 11 Pro Max. Half a terabyte in a phone. I mean, where is it? Where can it possibly be?
The thing is, Richard, if you're taping this recording, then you can look back on this in a few years' time and think, a terabyte? It's ridiculous.
Sure. That's nothing.
My first computer, I remember begging my parents because I was a kid in elementary school, it would be to you. And, I wanted the RAM upgrade for this Apple II clone that I had to go from 48K to 64K. And that was a couple $100. And so we've come a long way. And that's when computers ran at 1 megahertz.
Right.
Sorry,
I remember. A lot of you guys got Macs way before I did. I had a recording studio in those days. And I just had reel-to-reel decks, and everything was analog. And I just got my first Mac was a beige G3, late 90s. And it was right when Final Cut Pro just first came out. I started with Premiere on the Mac. Then Adobe dropped Premiere support, and I said, well, what am I going to do now? And then Final Cut Pro came out, so I said, oh, there you go. Been with it ever since.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't have a computer before that.
No, my first Mac was a Mac LC in 1991, and I remember QuickTime 1 at an Apple demo at one of the local dealers before Apple had Apple stores. And I remember with 3 or 4 other people in this little room, seeing tiny little windows, and you could copy and paste video.
Right.
It's like, wow, hey, this is the future. It's tiny at the moment.
Isn't
this
it amazing?
Gonna be great.
Yeah.
So cool.
I absolutely remember that. So one of the things that the attendees of the summit, we got an email this week that said, submit questions to the Final Cut Pro team for their Q&A that they're going to have. And I submitted about 6.
Yeah, me too.
Did you really?
I sent heaps.
What kind of things did you ask?
I'm not sure if I should be sharing those questions.
If you have any generic ones. I asked if Hollywood was important to Final Cut Pro team.
Yeah, look, I can find out this. Okay, what did I ask? Is something exciting? I'd like Apple to shout more about Final Cut and Motion, because I think by keeping so quiet about them, they it continues the perception that Apple doesn't care about it. If they've got so many opportunities to talk about Final Cut and make people talk about Final Cut, and I think partly it's just Apple's such a big company and they've got far more important things to worry about than editing software. So, that's where it just doesn't work. But I think there's opportunities to talk to a specific audience that wouldn't hurt the general message about an iPhone, that wouldn't hinder in any way. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see some upgrades to Motion. There's plenty of things they could do to Motion. Yeah. What else did I say? No, it's fine.
That's okay. Just curious. So if anybody out there watching, if you have anything specific, I think it's too late. I think the post office box closed yesterday.
It is too late.
We can still talk to them in person. So typically we have the presentation on Friday from One Infinite Loop, Apple HQ. We have that. It's a beautiful presentation in the theater and stuff. And then we go to a demo room typically after that.
Yeah.
The next day, the Final Cut Pro team, Pro Apps. See, listen, there's not one team. It's a combination of different. It's marketing team, it's Pro Apps team, it's Final Cut Pro. So it's I always say FCPX/Pro Apps team, but it's a combination. Yeah. They get these questions from us in advance. They will answer some of the questions. They will also ask us questions.
Yeah.
But that last time they asked us questions, so we expect that. So if anybody out there watching live has any specific questions, we might be able to take them in with us, maybe.
Well, I think the problem is if we take them into one of these Apple sessions, if we've had to sign an NDA, then we can ask the questions, but we just can't tell anyone what the answers were. So
sometimes,
by all means, send the questions. And if they're interesting, then we'll find out what the answers are.
Yeah, but we can't tell you what they are. Although the last time, Sean Lander, when I had him on with you guys, I think I told him at that time, all I told him was dupe detection was mentioned. That's all I told him.
Yeah. Look, I remember that whole session. Well, not the whole session. I remember that session. I remember what you're referring to, and look, I really hope that if we do see a significant update, that dupe detection is mentioned, because even though I haven't had much cause to use it in the past, I'd like to see dupe detection for two reasons. One, because working on this TV pilot, I finally understand why I need dupe detection. Because you'd need it when you're working in TV. It's like if you're doing any kind of doco, it's like, okay, have I used this shot somewhere in this TV show?
Absolutely.
Because, in a 5 or 10 minute thing, when you're working linearly, it doesn't matter at all. You just don't need it. But if you're going backwards and forwards and you're collating this and collating that, I know there are shots I've used twice in this pilot, but there's no easy way for me to find that out. And reason two is then Sean will stop asking for dupe detection. I'm sure he's sick of asking. And
he'll be onto something else though, won't he?
Oh, he is, and that's
projects
fine.
Versus.
And look, I can see it's a fair point. The term project confuses a lot of people because project means other things to other people. There are, if we could. Yeah, it would be lovely if it was called a timeline or a sequence. Everyone knows what they mean. That'd be great.
You know what? I call them whatever the heck I want to call them. I call the timeline, and I'm working on a project. Doesn't mean a Final Cut Pro specific project. I just use industry standard terms as well. But I think they're so embedded at this point with the Final Cut Pro people.
Well, look, I hope they do. I hope they make a change. And look, from a purely selfish point of view, as a trainer, I'd really like them to change the whole user interface up a bit so that I have to re-record all the training courses. That'd be great.
Yeah, of course.
That'd be nice. It'd be nice to have something new to train.
Absolutely. So one thing I don't expect from Apple, we know we're getting the Mac Pro. We know we're getting the Pro Display. Those have been announced by Apple themselves. We're not going to get a $1,000 keyboard, right? Like Blackmagic?
No, I think very few people are buying those. Look, all these different keyboards. Look, if you have a regular keyboard, if it's just keys, you can make the keys do whatever you want. It's good to have all these little all these function key ones above the number pad. They're great.
Yep.
but I don't think they really substantially change your experience until you get into a serious amount of knobs and sliders.
Right.
So if you get a MIDI control device like this and you get command post, that's where it gets really interesting. Color correction with this is a joy. It is fantastic. But extra buttons, well, it's just a bigger keyboard. I'm not excited about buttons on a device, which is why all the loop decks, I'm only excited about the sliders and dials, and I really need a lot of them. Like, to get a decent color correction experience, I need at least 12 dials or sliders. So I use 4 of the little knobs here to control color on mids and highs. And I need then another 8 sliders for all the controls on saturation and exposure. So I like the color board for that. That maps best to these controls. Obviously, tangent ripple would be nice, but, again, pricey and a different thing. And my focus is not so much on the color. It's more about just getting the basics right, which is about exposure and saturation a lot more.
So we haven't seen the Mac Pro keyboard yet, right? We're assuming it's a standard one. What if it has a touch bar? Because when the MacBook Pro 2016 came out with the touch bar, I asked the people at Apple if it was possible to do that on a keyboard, and they said it absolutely is possible. So...
yeah, look, I'd love to see it, but I think it'll be expensive if it does come out. Yeah, and look, to be honest, if I had to spend another $200 on top of a keyboard to get a touch bar, I probably wouldn't. I like it built into a MacBook Pro. I enjoy that. But yeah, I don't know how they can do it.
But this would come with the Mac Pro. Pay. This would come with the Mac Pro because there is a keyboard this time. The old Mac Pro didn't have a keyboard.
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure it has a keyboard, so it could come with it.
If the Mac Pro is including a keyboard, then I'm sure they have enough room in the profit margins to include a super fancy keyboard. That would be nice.
That was my impression, that it comes with a keyboard.
I don't know. I'm surprised actually if it does, because I don't think any Mac Pro has come with a keyboard.
Well, the old ones did. The cheese graters did, sure. Sure.
Was it? Oh yeah, but that's a long, long time ago though. Let's have a look.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Let's have a look. Mm-hmm.
Sure is pretty.
It's lovely. Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, it looks like... yeah, okay, so it looks like they're just going to give you the
basic one.
Same stuff you get with the iMac Pro. So the silver and black numeric keyboard is the default or only option.
But at least we're getting one this time.
Yeah, it's the same input devices you get with the iMac Pro. So that will be included, yeah.
So if they don't, you think they're just going to announce the Mac Pro and the Pro Display the same day, I'm sure, just an announcement, press announcement, nothing else?
I think so.
Because it's getting too late for an event, right?
Yeah, there's not going to be an official media event of the week that we're going to be there. I'd say that's too late now.
It's too late now.
So they might do one in November, and that is. But I don't know why they would. I don't know why they would. They've already done the media event. Just like with Apple TV Plus, they've had multiple events, and then it happened. So,
yeah. Apple TV Plus. I get that free because I got a new iPhone for a year, so I'll try it out when I get back from the summit. Maybe there's a couple of shows on there. The C show looks pretty cool. I like that one.
Yeah, look, there's a few things I'd like to try. I'd like to check out, and I think For All Mankind is going to be my fave there, because the dude behind Battlestar Galactica, and it's about space. So yeah,
I like Battlestar Galactica. I like that. That was a good show.
It was good, yeah. So yeah, no, that's going to be good. But I mean, I'm not going to start watching any of these until I can finish watching them, because I'm a binger. I will not go back to this weekly release thing. And I think some of the shows at least were, yes, the first 3 episodes are available at launch and then 1 per week. It's like, no, okay, right. When can I watch the whole thing, please?
Right. Well, that's Netflix that started doing that, right?
Yeah.
Apple's not doing that. Yeah.
No, Apple are doing that. That's the problem.
No, I'm saying they're not doing binging.
No, not well. They will, but only if you wait.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So why would I start watching a show I can't finish? That's no. I need the whole thing, but that's fine. I'll just hang on a bit.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I get spoiled with the binging. I mean, like Netflix started that. Apple's not doing it. They didn't do it for when Twin Peaks came out. They didn't do it for that either. They just had one a week.
Yeah, and look, there is something to be said for it. Not you can't binge every show, but I really do enjoy the binge, and it's kind of frustrating when you end up with a show that for whatever reason you can't binge. Like The Good Place is excellent, but comes out once a week. And that's very frustrating.
Well, it's frustrating, but it gives you time to talk about it in between. So what are you looking forward to coming to the summit, seeing friends again, having dinners together?
Yeah.
You're teaching your session. You have 2 sessions?
Yeah. Yep. 2 sessions this year. So yeah, one on making educational videos and one on accessibility. So captions, sign language, that kind of thing.
And that's a big deal. I mean,
yeah, it's important. And I don't think there's any other sessions about that this year. So yeah, it's important. So I'll cover the basics, how you can get your captions, what you can do with captions, some sneaky tricks for using captions for change management, how to translate captions between different formats, how to, shoot sign language interpreters, a few tricks about that. Yeah, there's a few interesting things.
There is a few interesting things. And when I worked at the National Archives years ago, we had to do everything captioned. Yep. Even the live streams, we had to have a separate captioning service that typed it up live. We fed them an audio feed, and they would send it back, and then we had to put it on the live stream. This is years and years ago.
Yeah, and live TV. It was really interesting. Again, at the dentist, watching the TV because they have the captions on, right. And so the live captioner who they have doing the terrible daytime TV is like a good 5 seconds behind. And that's pretty hard to follow.
Yes.
Like that's a bit tedious, especially if somebody's singing a song. And it's like, yeah, how do you even begin to understand that? That's pretty frustrating. But then some of the ads were captioned. Like ads don't need to be captioned apparently. So most of them weren't, but the ones from the biggest companies were. And it was interesting that they'd bothered to do it, especially when it's for like a sound effect. Water washes on beach or something. It's like, that's okay. Well, I mean, good on you, but I'm surprised they didn't all have to do it. And certainly the live captioning service didn't bother doing it either.
Right.
But yeah, law changes around this stuff, and a lot of people are going to have to do captioning to some degree. And if you leave it entirely up to the free stuff on YouTube, it's going to make mistakes.
Oh, they definitely make mistakes. The archivist of the United States, when his name is pronounced Ferriero, but it looks like Ferriero. So you had to give them the spelling of the name in advance, or they'd always do the wrong captioning. So a lot of people are saying that 10.5, Final Cut Pro 10.5, it's not ready, it's not going to come out till whenever. But I don't think they work on one version at a time. I think they're working on 1 version, 2 versions, maybe 3 versions, and they've had 2 years since 10.4 came out. They've had a lot of time to get 10.4.7 out. So I don't think that they just work on 10.4.7, then they start working on 10.5. I think they've been working on 10.5 the whole time, and the 10.4.7 that came out recently for the metal update is just the version that's out right now, but I think it's all part of,
I hope you're right. I hope they've had another team working on new features and UI changes and all this stuff, and the back-end team has been hard at work doing this, this change.
Well, here's the interesting thing. The fact that they released 10.4.7 with the metal update means that wasn't part of 10.5.
No, yeah, that's true. But I think that was because of Catalina. They had to have a release out that day. And so maybe that's kind of been the plan all along, that they knew they were going to have to do a Catalina update. and they had to get something out, so they just stripped it back to the stuff they had to do, metal, and one other feature I think there was.
So Catalina requires 10.4.7 Final Cut Pro wise?
Yeah.
It doesn't run 10.4.6?
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think there was actually, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there were bugs. Like I think Final Cut was actually running on Catalina through the betas, and then late betas broke it.
Right.
And I'm not sure if the fix came by going to 10.4.7 or by going to a later Catalina beta. I don't know. But I would be surprised if older than 10.4.7 was thoroughly stable on Catalina, to be honest. Because it's a big change. There's lots of things going on under the surface.
Right, and I guess my point is I'm surprised it's not part of 10.5, because that would have been a big thing to introduce with a brand new version. Oh, it's 10.5, it's metal, blah, blah. They didn't do that. So I think there's something bigger coming out with 10.5.
Well, the other thing that potentially lets them do, if they want to go Catalina only on some features, they've now got an opportunity to do that by releasing 10.4.7, which runs on the last two OSs, so Mojave and Catalina. They could potentially go 10.5 and say, right, this one's got Catalina only, so stay on 10.4.7 if you have to run Mojave, because there are going to be plenty of people who have to run Mojave for a while yet.
Right.
And yeah, look, I might upgrade my laptop to Catalina, but I'm definitely staying Mojave on my iMac for a while.
Absolutely, me too.
Yeah, there's just too many issues, which is... they will go away in time. But
well, I updated to Mojave in May after NAB. I just didn't need it till then. I mean, if I have to do it for Final Cut Pro for something that I really want, or I'll do the same thing. I'll try it on my MacBook Pro. I got a 2019 8-core now, so I'll try it on that. But of course, I'll do a carbon copy clone my existing version of Mojave first, so I can go right back to it.
The danger is, though, that iCloud stuff gets upgraded. So, for example, if you move to the new reminders format on iOS 13, it suddenly stops syncing to your Mac until you go to Catalina.
Wow.
So you got to say, no, don't do that, because that's a big deal. And that's a one-way trip for me, an incredibly important part of my day-to-day workflow. That would be profoundly annoying. And for me, because my accounting system is 32-bit, it's profoundly annoying that I have to say goodbye to that on the way to Catalina, which is, so, I got a choice.
And they're not going to update it to 64-bit, your accounting software?
No, there is a newer version of the accounting software which does work in 64-bit, but of course it's gone subscription. And so I'd really rather not have another subscription at this point.
Right.
And there have been no meaningful feature updates since they went subscription, which kind of underscores the point of, what am I paying for then?
Right.
I'll pay for upgrades. I would have paid for an upgrade to 64-bit in a heartbeat. Yes, this is an easy thing. Look, I'll pay for that again, not a problem. But, shifting your accounting software is something you do very rarely. You need to keep the old version running somehow, because you might need to go back over your documents from 4 years ago. So, what are my options here? And look, it's not a huge amount of money to be paying. It's like, what can be $100 a year or something. But it commits you then, right? $100 a year for no new features and the privilege of staying on the same bit of software. So to be honest, I'd rather pay a similar amount of money to get a virtual environment going and through Parallels, for example, and keep running stuff, because to be honest, there's a bug on Mojave with this software. Every time I launch it, it takes 15 seconds longer than it should, because it rebuilds its Spotlight index, and it never did that on High Sierra. So it looks like it'll be a High Sierra VM.
Oh, there you go. So when I had Michael Cioni on a couple weeks ago, one of the questions I asked him was what he thought would have to happen for Hollywood to accept Final Cut Pro 10. And he surprised me by his answer. He said he thinks that they should seriously think about changing their name from Final Cut with a new major version. because he says no matter what you do, Hollywood is still going to always have the initial Final Cut Pro thing. And if you change the name, if you added features that Hollywood needed, that, the collaboration and stuff, and you change the name like it was a new app, that he thought that, I never thought about that, he thought that might get them more accepted into Hollywood. What do you think?
Okay. Well, Chris Hocking had a similar thing. He thought that maybe they should rename it.
With a major upgrade, not just rename the existing.
Yeah, with a major upgrade. And look, it would certainly grab attention and maybe force people to have another look at it. But at the same time, Hollywood doesn't care. The vast majority of Hollywood is cutting on the first and only NLE they ever learned, which is Avid. And they're not going to touch the editorial when it's, the bit which everything else hangs off. It's incredibly important to them that works properly, and that interchange with VFX, with audio, has got to be rock solid. And why would they mess with it when what they're doing works, and that's the only one their editors know anyway, and all the most experienced feature editors are already using Avid. So I don't see them changing at all, no matter what they call Final Cut, no matter what features they add. I don't see mainstream Hollywood going anywhere.
Right, but that's
a long time.
That's the existing Hollywood now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but future Hollywood, you think it's going to be this way 100 years from now? I don't think so.
No, but
I think that there's a chance. Well, put it this way. One of the questions I asked the Final Cut Pro team, whether they answer it, I don't know. How important is Hollywood to Final Cut Pro team? How important is that?
Not very. There's only a couple of thousand seats.
Right.
So
prestige-wise?
In terms of sales, it's all about prestige, and it's all about the halo effect. But at the same time, I don't think they're really that worried about it. There are more people making videos that will not be seen on a big TV, on a network or on a streaming service. There are more people making educational stuff, private stuff, corporate stuff. And look, to be honest, I don't think Apple is concerned about numbers hugely anyway. I don't think they need to be. I think Final Cut Pro at the moment is a terrific showcase for their hardware. It's a reminder that Apple's still very, very good at this stuff. And look, I love the software, and I'm really glad it does exist. And it certainly is a shining beacon for all the other NLE manufacturers to show, hey, look how fast we made this. And I think certainly, Resolve has improved leaps and bounds, recently, because I'm not sure if it's because they had Final Cut out there saying, hey, look, this is pretty fast, because certainly Resolve is as fast or faster now, I think. So they've done a great job on that. But, if Final Cut wasn't there, then I don't think things would be as fast. And it looked to give Adobe credit, they've improved as well. Certainly their 1080p stuff is now way faster than it used to be.
Okay.
So it has all improved.
So we've got a comment on YouTube that says, future Hollywood to me is Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and Final Cut Pro can win seats there. I mean, there's a lot more than just, as a matter of fact, I would say there's much more in Hollywood than feature films.
Well, yeah, look, it depends how you define Hollywood. Depends, and everybody's different about, how much they value the movie-going experience. To be honest, I don't value it much at all these days. I would much rather be at home watching on my 4K OLED.
Right.
And being able to pause the movie whenever I feel like it, being able to go to the toilet, get some food, drink a beer, whatever. I do not want to go and be forced to watch 20 minutes of ads after waiting for half an hour to get a seat, and having to see other people. But everybody's different. I don't value the giant screen experience, and I get a lot of people do, and that's totally fine. But I think Apple's opportunity, if they want to push Final Cut, and I don't know that they could do this politically anyway, would be that for the projects which they're actually doing themselves, because Apple has their own internal production company, as well as all the launch stuff is all external production companies.
Right.
But with their own internal stuff, they could say, right, we're using Final Cut. And look, to some degree, this happens a bit because, when Apple has an ad, like fairly often they want that cut on Final Cut. They go to trim editing in London and they'll get that done. Thomas Grove Carter cut a really nice piece on privacy recently. So yeah, they do already make the choice to prioritize Final Cut agencies, and it would be nice if they, if the next big Apple production, if Apple actually said, well, you know what, we're going to use Final Cut. So experienced editors either go learn this, or we'll find some editors who know it. And because look, there are enough of us out there.
Yeah,
but
there's plenty. There's plenty. The whole thing is in Hollywood, we've already seen Final Cut do feature films. We know it can be done. We've already seen it happen. We've also seen it do major Hollywood television, especially over in Europe. Yeah. 50 seats. It's working. Yeah. We know it can work, but they certainly can improve that workflow for Hollywood. I don't think it's like the main focus of the team. I think it's just why not? Why not?
I don't think it's the main focus of the team either. But I do think that established workflows are so locked in that if they're going to change, then essentially the people who are empowered to change those workflows are going to take advice from the people who don't want things to change. Thanks very much. So if you were an executive producer in charge of a TV show and you wanted to save money and you got the idea that, hey, you could do things faster and cheaper with Final Cut. And so you asked the editors what they thought. If their opinion of Final Cut, for whatever reason, good or bad, is that they don't want to use that, then they'll say, no, we're not going to use that. And yeah, that article about that Spanish studio, it had a similar thing. They had a lot of pushback from the staff, from the editors who said, who were, not really wanting to move to Final Cut. But then they had a demo that showed, actually, Final Cut will turn this around quicker than anything else will. And that's what convinced them. And then they didn't look back. But it takes an awful lot of things to be happening at the right place. It takes people in a position of power who have the money, who are, in charge of spending the money, to say, right, we want to spend less or we want to get this done quicker. And other staff who are on board and willing to make that happen. And that requires an awful lot of will, which I don't think is necessarily there for a lot of people. And, that's just the way it is. Most people are not going to want to make a change once they've invested a lot of time learning software. And I get that. Yeah, I understand it.
I completely understand. But then you get somebody like Michael Yanovich, 25 years plus as an Avid editor, and he switched to Final Cut Pro 10 because of the major advantages he sees. That's not somebody who's a Final Cut Pro fan to start with. He's just a newcomer. 25 plus years as an Avid editor in Hollywood.
But that said, though, he can make that choice to work on his own, and then he has to go and convince everybody else. It's the group of 10 editors who all cut on Avid and who aren't going to switch because their bosses aren't going to buy them a new system. Like, there's a million reasons you could have heard that Final Cut was bad. I know people who work in editing who thought Final Cut was bad for years and years because they had a bad experience, and it turns out it was just one of their expansion cards.
Sure.
Didn't work very well with Final Cut, and so they blamed the software, but that's okay. There's a million reasons.
So here's what we've established so far. Something is happening at the summit.
Something will happen.
Whether or not we can talk about it during the summit or after the summit remains to be seen. But something is happening. There's going to show us something that we're not supposed to talk about publicly
seriously,
yet.
I really hope it's something we can't talk about for some significant amount of time afterwards. It'll be a bit of a bummer if we just get to see the Mac Pro and it comes out a week later.
Oh no, that's not an NDA thing. I mean, that's not enough. Now, here's the second thing. So we know something new is happening at the summit this year. This is the biggest Final Cut Pro event of the year. Second thing is we're hoping we get a Mac Pro. Everybody gets a Mac Pro.
Oh yeah, under the chair.
The seat.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. The third thing is I hope for Patrick Southern there's an Armadillo Willie's somewhere that he can get to because he loves that barbecue. He's not going to. We might have to force feed him the Vietnamese food. I'm not sure if that's going to work or not.
Oh dear. Well, look, I'm just going to be exploring every coffee shop as soon as I arrive, which is the Starbucks across the road, the Phil's Coffee down the
Right.
way, and then staying awake till the end of the day. That's all I need.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. That's good for today. You have anything else you want to say?
No, no, it'll be fun. Looking forward to seeing everyone there, and Cupertino will be fun as ever. If you haven't been there before and you are going to go for the first time, it is completely safe to walk around at night, at least in my experience.
Yeah,
There is a
absolutely.
there is a 24-hour donut place, which is terrible for you, but good fun, called Donut Wheel on the way up to Infinite Loop. It's a quick 5-minute walk from the hotel. I would recommend exploring that with a late night group of people with jet lag. That's always fun. But yeah, if you don't have a car, there are really not that many exciting shops nearby. If you're looking for souvenirs to take back to the family and you come from overseas, you'll be exploring Target and the Sprouts supermarket. And
Yeah.
it is pretty unlikely that we'll see John Cleese again like we did last time,
Right.
which was when Lee and I ran into John Cleese in the supermarket, which was insane. And then
Yeah.
again in the hotel. But yeah, no. Hey, you can always maybe we'll get some other members of Monty Python delivering comedy
Yeah.
to
I'm not sure what
nearby
he
corporates.
was in there for. So I just put up the FCPX Creative Summit website, fcpxcreativesummit.com. You only have a couple days to get in there if you want to get in there right now. Torgrim Grimstad says, see you guys next week. He's coming from Norway. And so the one thing that I learned last year, I bring my own coffee maker with me. I bring a stainless steel pour over kettle, and I bring a AeroPress, which is pretty compact. Everything's pretty compact. I bring my own coffee. Don't use spring water. I went over to Sprouts and got like a big 24 pack of spring water. It made the worst coffee in the world, and I couldn't figure out why. No spring water. Just get filtered water, not spring
Yeah,
water. It was terrible.
that'd work.
I kept saying, why does this coffee taste so bad? But anyway, over
Maybe,
there
yeah.
at FCPRadio.com, I do have a FCPX Creative Summit page. And one of the things that I have is a food map. So where's that donut place? I don't have it on
Where's
there.
You don't have the donut place. It's called
No,
Donut Wheel.
I did things close by. You said it's
Let
up
me look
towards
it up.
the campus?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to look it up. Yep, Donut Wheel in Cupertino. It is on North De Anza Boulevard. The address is 10250 North De Anza.
Okay.
So, yes, it is near, Lesaneo Drive, which means that, you cross the road from the hotel and you walk up to the next mini block, and it's on
Okay.
that corner.
Okay.
So it's easy on the way to Apple. But you know what actually freaked me out? So many buildings around Cupertino are owned by Apple that, in fact, the building directly behind the hotel is called City Center 4, which is Apple's City Center 4. There is an Apple building literally a stone's throw from the hotel. And there's all these little Cafe Maxes hidden in them. Like you go a tiny bit
okay.
back. Yeah, behind, Le Boulanger and all of that, there's more Apple buildings. So they're just taking over the whole city.
Well, in order to get to Spaceship Campus, imagine how long that took to get that land organized.
Yes, they've got plenty of space.
Absolutely.
Man.
Okay,
Crazy, but
Ian, go
yes,
get some sleep.
Oh, this is quite good for confusing my body. It's now 1:30 a.m.
There you go. You can do some jumping jacks,
No,
drink some coffee.
Might go play some video games.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So I'll see you in 4 days, is it? 5 days?
Ooh, is it even that?
Yeah.
It's,
Saturday. Today's Saturday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah, 4 days.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. I'll be there mid-afternoon, Wednesday, and trying to stay awake. But I'll go shop for the family first.
Yeah, I'll be there about the same time, sometime mid-afternoon, and I'll go get my water and stuff ready for half and half. I got to have half and half, too, for coffee. Well, listen.
Is it good? Just by the way, do you know that we don't have half and half?
Do you have cream?
Yeah, we have cream.
Cream's better. Cream's better.
I find the whole concept of half and half just so weird. I mean, it's fine. It tastes nice, but yeah, especially when it's like half cream and half light milk.
No, I never heard of that. That doesn't make any sense. No, half and half, of course, is not as expensive as cream, and it's not as, well, first off, half and half tastes more creamier for American, because American milk is a little watery for me. When I go to Europe, the milk tastes better, tastes creamier, so a higher fat content probably. So that's what it is. But cream is better for coffee. Same thing if you go to New Zealand.
Yeah. If you want the best milk, you have to go to New Zealand.
Okay.
Tasmania's pretty good too, though.
Okay. I'll get there eventually, all these places. But anyway, I'll see you in about 4 or 5 days. And like I said, we'll both be there Wednesday, so maybe we'll catch up for dinner Wednesday, because not many people are going to be there till Thursday.
Yes. So there's definitely going to be I guess another gathering on Thursday morning. There'll be people running. I think I'll be making another video, I imagine. I've got, a new tripod. I think I might set up a ring light and get people to sit down in the same seat in the foyer somewhere and answer the same questions. And that could be a good thing for the video this year.
And get the Apple team to sit down and say, what about Final Cut Pro 10.5?
They won't answer a thing.
They won't? Even won't. If you ask nicely?
Even the people I know before they started Apple, not going to happen.
Of course. We don't expect them to. So anyway, everybody can follow along, FCPRadio.com. I'll all kind of information there, blogs, live stuff, all kinds of neat stuff, as much as I can. Maybe we can't film in the demo room this year. I don't know. We will find out once we're on the spot.
And I remember, let me show you privately, because it wouldn't work as a talk, but there's a really cool app called Vuo, which lets you make Final Cut plugins and effects that are quite different from what you can make in Motion.
Really?
Really good fun. Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it's new. It's only in beta, but it is good.
Sounds good, Ian. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Cool.
See you in 5 days.
Indeed.
FCPX Creative Summit. Thanks everyone for tuning in.